Welcome back to Beat, Feet, and Retreat Military History. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. I know I did. I received this Zastava M48A. This is a Mauser, chambered in 8mm Mauser. And there's only one problem with it. That's not really a problem. The thing is caked in Cosmoline, which is actually a blessing in disguise because this thing is caked in Cosmoline, you can assume it's never been fired in the United States. Unless it was a Southern Tactical out of Glen Ellen, Virginia, decided to redip this in Cosmoline, which I don't think they did. And if you don't know what Cosmoline is, it's essentially this communist petroleum-based jelly that they use to preserve these guns from rust for long periods of storage. So essentially they would dip these into a vat of Cosmoline and then put it into a storage rack. And then now I have it. So here's the things you're gonna need to clean your Mauser. So we're gonna do the mineral spirit method. Just keep in mind, all over YouTube, all over the internet, there's 105 ways on how to clean Cosmoline off of these old rifles. I've heard Windex. We're gonna use the mineral spirit method. I've also heard gasoline from my friend who is much more versed in material and chemical science than I am. But somehow putting gasoline on my 60-year-old firearm just does not seem right and will not be happening in this video. So we're going to use the mineral spirit method for at least the bolt carrier group. And you're going to want some gloves and then like a tin basin, or this is like a tin foil serving tray. I've seen people use actual tin foil and they'll like mold it into a bowl for like the longer parts. But we're going to use the hairdryer and the heating gun, which I'll get into in a second. But you're also going to want a rag so you don't mar up your stock when you put the clamps on. You're going to want a rubberized hammer, mallet, and then a block of softwood so that you can get these barrel clamps off. You're also going to want a toothbrush to scrub the small parts in the bolt carrier group. And then, as I mentioned, you're going to want the clamp because you need to detent the spring to get the barrel bands off. And then another method is the heat method. Cosmoline comes off around like 115, 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So I've heard that you can actually break this apart, put it into a garbage bag, and then set it outside on like a nice sunny day. But we live in Michigan and it's in the middle of winter, so that's not an option. So we're going to use the hairdryer, and I splurged and bought a heating gun. So we're going to try this. And then the final thing you're going to need, which is the most important thing, is a nice set of screwdrivers. From doing this hobby, I've learned that that's the most important tool you're going to use because every gun you're ever going to encounter requires screwdrivers to break it down. And having a nice set ensures that you're not going to mar it. And you need to, be detail oriented and, just don't mar the screws. So just one more thing before we get into this breakdown. YouTube, I know you're kind of, touchy-feely about gun breakdowns. So I just want to let you know that this is for educational purposes. And I'm obviously an enthusiast, and it's for no other reason than that. So let's get this cleaning rod off. That's the first step. And keep in mind, this is my first time doing this. This is actually my first Mauser. So this is a learning experience for everyone involved, which should be fun. So cleaning rod out. Now let's go to the barrel bands. The next step is going to be to get this band off. And in order to do that, we have to detent this spring. So that's where the rag comes in so that you don't mar up the wood stock here. But just looking at this, I can already tell that it's very caked in Cosmoline. So we're going to use the heat gun for a little bit to kind of loosen up the Cosmoline. All right, that thing's spicy. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to use the towel so we don't mar the finish. And you see this spring right here? That's what we're going to be detenting with the clamps. So you know you got this thing clamped right when that little dot is depressed right there. All right, so I'm a little sweaty because I've been working at this, but it's starting to come. Oh, and there it is. This is going much better than I thought it would, honestly. Oh, there it is. All right, next up. So you saw we got this first band off. Now you can take your spring out, and then your next barrel band, you can just slide that forward with more finesse than I just did. All right, so for this next part, we have to get this upper wood piece off. So there's a single screw right here that we're going to take out. Nice. Yeah, sometimes these things are really gummed up. So there's your top screw. Now the next part, we're going to take this top wood piece off, and there's a clamp back here. So you want to work from the front. See how easy that comes off? And then you twist, and the first wood piece is off. So I also forgot we should probably take the bolt out first before we go on to this next step. So the way I did that is I just pulled this up and then pulled the bolt back. We'll break this down later, so I'll just set it in my tray for now. But the next step we're going to do is take the follower and floor plate out. Now I just have a hex head right here. You just want something kind of flat and wide. And there's a detent right here. Rock it forward, and it just springs out. This is kind of binding. Oh, look at that. I'm actually very impressed with how well this gun's coming apart. I was not expecting it to be, not necessarily easy, but actually this has been going along pretty easy. So next we're going to get the trigger pack and magazine out. There's a safety screw right here. It's already in the position to where I can unscrew this larger screw. So let's do that. Ooh, this guy's stiff. Oops. So there's your short screw. And then you have this rear screw, which is much longer, so it's very easy to not mess this up when you're putting it back together. After unloosening this screw, I was lucky, and the whole barrel assembly fell out. So the next thing you're going to want to do is get the trigger pack out. It should, yep, just like that. So put that in your mineral spirit bucket. Let's move on to the next step. So all inside of here is Cosmoline. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking the heat gun, getting it moving a little bit. And I'm taking these paper towels and just cleaning out the inside of this. This whole stock is just saturated in Cosmoline. It's actually crazy. But just after that, and you can see it's kind of moving in there. It comes right out. So this stock's not, you can see I got the screws out, but I'm having issues pulling this off. And, I don't know enough about this to force it. So I'm going to do a little bit more research on how to get this off, and I'll get back to you on that part. But let's move on to the bolt carrier group. So I just messed with this for about 20 minutes. So when you take this out of the gun, you need to make sure the safety is in the upward position, all right, or else this won't work. So what you do is you have see this black detent right there? We're going to press that and rotate it counterclockwise to the way it sits in the bolt. So, the way it sits in the gun. So if it's sitting in the gun like this, we're going to rotate it this way. So if it's facing this way, we'll rotate it that way. So press that detent, and it should just unscrew like that. Wow, that's a lot of Cosmoline. So I just struggled with this for a while, but once you get it past where that little opening is, I just heated it up with the heat gun, and then I just gave it a little tap, and then the piece popped off. So put that in your bin, and now we move on to this. Push down with downward pressure. Then you just screw this. motherfucker. There it goes. There's a fully disassembled bolt. A lot of sweat down, a lot of tears down, but yeah, I mean the bolt was definitely the hardest part of this breakdown because of the Cosmoline. So just keep that in mind if you're gonna do this. So off camera, I'm gonna continue to use the heat gun, and I'm gonna get this barrel clean. I'm sorry we didn't use the hair dryer. I know we mentioned we were going to, but I mean this thing just works so well. I mean there was just really no need for the hair dryer. So for 25 bucks at Home Depot, I would highly suggest getting one of these if you're gonna do this a lot, or if you're gonna get into this hobby, because that's essential. I mean, all the screws that had issues, you just hit it with a little bit of the heat, come right out. That thing you need to do this. But so what I'm going to do here to finish this up, I'm going to soak it in mineral salts, and the next video will be a reassembly, and then you'll get to see what the finished product looks like. So stay tuned.